It's time for a happy hour with the Hombre. Hello and welcome to this episode of Happy Hour with the Hombre. Today we've got a very special guest. I'm really excited to introduce him and to let you guys learn about him and the fabulous tequila that he makes. Hopefully you guys are bringing some El Tequileño tequilas to sip with you today. I am sipping right now on the new El Tequileño Anejo, which I'm really enjoying, and I will do a review of that coming up here real soon on the channel. But I also plan on doing a little sipping of the Reposado Rare, which I really love this tequila. And if you've seen it, I'm sure you probably have, and wondering if it's worth getting. It is. It's fantastic. He does a great job with it. So if you guys are sipping on some El Tequileño, I'd love to hear what you're sipping on. So please comment and let us know. Now, if you're new to how these shows work, this starts out with an interview. And with the interview, I'll interview our guest, which our guest today is Tony Salles with El Tequileño. I'll interview him for the first half, and then we open up the second half for questions and answers. So you guys can ask questions, and he'll answer your questions for you. We'll put them up on the screen. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel, you can click on the $ and below the chat, and you can do a super chat, which helps fund the channel and all the stuff that I do, as well as it makes your question or comment last on the screen longer, and you get priority as far as the order in which your question is asked by me. So with all that said, there's some questions that are popping up on the screen. Is this stream a live stream or previously recorded? It's live. You're seeing it live right now, not previously recorded. All right, we got somebody drinking the Platinum, which is fantastic. It's a beautiful Blanco. Somebody answered live. Hello. How you doing? Welcome, Ruth. Thanks for joining us. And that's it. Okay, so without any further ado, please welcome to the screen my guest from El Tequileño Distillery and Brand. It is Tony Salles. Welcome, Tony.
Hello, how are you?
Well, I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us today to talk to us about your brand.
It's my pleasure to be here.
We greatly appreciate it. So I want to start off just with a little history of El Tequileño. I know it was started by your grandfather back in like 1959, correct?
Well, he began making tequila in 1941.
Okay.
And all the tequila that he made back then, it was for Casa Cuervo. You got to have in mind, my grandfather's name is Jorge Salles Cuervo. So, yeah, we're related to the Cuervo family. Mm-hmm. All the tequila he made back then was for Casa Cuervo up until 1958 when the manager of Cuervo came to him and said, you know, Don Jorge, this is the last year we're going to buy tequila from you. And that's when he began looking for something to do. The interesting part of this is that the manager of Cuervo back then was my grandfather's father-in-law. so it was double the pressure. Because he only had to keep on working because he was married to his daughter and he had his grandsons. So that's why in 1959 he began doing El Tequileño. And since that's the only beverage we've done in our distillery, we've only done El Tequileño. We're one of the 8 or I don't know, it's 9 or 10 now distilleries that only do one product in the distillery.
One brand. And I know you've got several different expressions. What was the first expression that your grandfather created when he opened up the distillery?
He started with this one, our El Tequileño Blanco. It's a mixto tequila. And the interesting part about this tequila is that unlike many other mixto tequilas, we're not 51-49, we're 70-30, 70% agave, 30% other types of sugars. And in those type of sugars, it's pure sugar cane and piloncillo, which is like a craft sugar.
It's like a like Mexican brown sugar, right?
Yeah, you can find several flavors in that one. It goes from a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of chocolate, but it's made out of sugar.
And that was the Blanco that was featured in the Batanga, right?
Yeah, that's the one. We've been fortunate enough that ever since 1959 we've been growing and people had liked us First of all, because of the name, El Tequileño, it was made in honor of the people of Tequila. So we're very liked in the town of Tequila and in places like La Capilla by Don Javier. He loved our brand, and that's why he made his batanga with Tequileño always.
And I actually still sip and drink the Blanco, the non 100% agave Blanco, and it is one of the best that I've ever had. It's fantastic. So thank you for keeping that around still, because it is a beautiful Blanco, even though it's people often look down on ones that are not 100% agave, but that one is fantastic, and I always recommend people try it.
It's a different tequila. It proves the point that sometimes if it's a well done mixto can sometimes be better than a poorly done 100%. Even though I say that when they ask me if there's which one is not a good tequila, I say all tequilas are good. There's no bad tequilas. Although there's some of us that try to do it better every day, and we're aiming always to do the best product as possible.
Great. And so I understand too that your grandfather was more of a Blanco and Reposado person.
Yeah, well, until he passed away in 2000, we only had the Tequileño Blanco Mixto and the Reposado, which is a 3-month Reposado, and it's aged in pipones, the big barrels, wooden barrels. We don't use small barrels, 200-liter barrels for aging Reposado. So those were the only 2 brands that we had with him. After he passed away, we launched, first of all, our Gran Reserva Reposado, which is an 8-month Reposado blended with a 1.5-year Anejo. And then we came out with our Platinum, the one that some people said that they were drinking. That's when we came out in 2007. And now in 2017, we had a change in administration. We got a major investor from Canada, Mr. Wayne Hennessy came over, and there was a major change in the whole distillery, in the whole company. Although the only request that Wayne asked us and asked me personally is if we're going to keep on working in the industry, he didn't want the flavor and the profile to change. So I just asked him, well, if you don't want anything to change, we got to keep on doing it the same way. You want to produce a little bit more. There's going to be a point that we won't be able to produce any more tequila, but we've been able to grow by replicating everything we had. Instead of doing a big batch, we're doing several small batches, and we're growing as fast as possible. But that's the thing. We gotta replicate what we do in small batches and having the same recipe that my grandfather had since 1959, doing it exactly the same.
That's awesome. Now, the platinum, the platinum is actually rested in oak barrels for 14 days before it's bottled.
Both our Blanco and our Platinum, we rest them in 14 days in barrels, just to give them mellow it down and give them a little bit of wood and flavor, which helps. It won't give them much color, and basically for the flavor that it gives and the mellowing down of the product.
Awesome.
And ever since 2017 that we changed the administration, that's when we got the ones that you presented, the Anejo and the Rare that we're going to be talking about, and I can give you a preview that we have in Mexico, but this year we're going to be able to have in the United States, which is a Crystalino. We're making a Crystalino, which was also quite a challenge, especially because we're an additive-free company. So we had to make a Crystalino with no additives, and it was a bit challenging, but we were able to make it.
So as somebody who's grown up in the tequila world, what is your feelings about Crystalinos personally?
I gotta be honest. Ever since I saw Crystalinos, I was extremely against them, and I said no. When Wayne came into the company, my wife told me, "You know what? He's gonna ask you to make a Crystalino," and I said, "No, but I'm gonna convince him not to." But he said, no, he's going to ask you, believe me, he will. And when the time came, he asked me to do one. I said, no, I was able to convince him. But sooner or later, one of our main clients asked him for one. And he said, well, I'm not asking. We're going to do it. So you got to find a way. So we had to do several samples to find the right. Because I told them, okay, I'm gonna make it, but let's compromise that if I try it and it doesn't come as we want, we won't sell it because we won't be adding any additives. So we got to that compromise, and we were able to get a product that with no additives still has the flavor of tequila, and people enjoy a lot. So we got to one of our main clients, and he told us, if I like the product, I'll buy probably almost as more 3/4 or all of the lot that you do for the first batch. And he kept his word.
Oh, nice.
He almost finished the whole batch because he liked it.
Well, I know you're extremely passionate about tequila, and I love seeing that. Was tequila something you knew you were going to be doing from the time that when you're growing up and your grandfather was running the distillery, or is it something that you developed a little later in life?
I didn't know if I was going to be there, but I wanted to, because ever since I've been going to the distillery since I was born. Literally, my father used to take me when I was a little kid, and just there's some guys that've been in the distillery for 40 years now, and they told me that they took care of me while my father was giving rounds and checking the distillery. So I've been living and breathing tequila all my life, and I liked how to make tequila, and I knew that probably sooner or later I would be able to get into the business. And when I had the first opportunity, I took it. It was as a distillery. In the distillery, I was in charge of the international business. I was there for 2 years. But the moment I had the chance to move into the distillery, I took it, and I've been there since 2018. Not 2008, sorry.
2008. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I know you're pretty innovative, and I love everything that you've done so far. I've really enjoyed, and I know I send you the links for the reviews when I do them.
Yes.
So somebody wanted to know, just a quick question here during the interview that I think we should probably address why we got him here. They want to know if you can explain the difference between what makes the Reposado Rare so special. And I think this is interesting. So you want to explain what's so interesting about the Reposado Rare and why it is still a Reposado?
Yeah, Reposado Rare. It's a little bit confusing when we explain to people. The Reposado Rare, as its name, it's a Reposado. Why? Because the law states that a Reposado has to be aged for at least 2 months in a wooden container, okay? But then when we go to Añejos says that it has to be aged for a year, or it's Añejo 3 years, but in a wooden container, not larger than 600 liters. That's the largest it could be for Añejo or Extra Añejo. This Reposado was aged for 6 years and 4 months in a wooden barrel, in a pipon, that it's 23,000 liters. So that's why it cannot be called an Añejo. We could have left it there for 100 years, and it would still be a Reposado because of the size of the wooden container that we're aging in it. So when my father decided to start aging it, we were gonna do first a Reposado Gran Reserva, but he decided to keep it before bottling it and blending it with the Añejo. And he decided to keep it for a year. After a year, we asked him and said, no, I'm gonna keep this tequila and see what I can do with it. So we were able to do that, and he kept it for 6 years. He was checking it every year and seeing how it was evolving, and the flavor and everything. And it was after the 6th year that it happened to be when Wayne and everybody came on board, that he opened the barrel and said, I think it's ready. Everybody else tasted it and loved it. So the thing is that even though it's 6 years, it has been 6 years in wood, the wooden flavor won't be overwhelming. And that's very interesting, because people say it's been there for 6 years. When you put tequila in wood for so long, sometimes it tends to get a little bit of aroma of a whiskey whiskey and basically brandy, because the wood starts to make more effect on it, and it loses a little bit of the agave flavor. But with 6 years of just on a pipon, the ratio of contact with wood was very low. So you got the perfect amount of wooden flavor in it. And I think you get that. You get also honey flavors. You get chocolate flavors, and it's. I like it. I love the way that it evolved from the wood of that barrel. Unfortunately, I don't know if we were going to be able to replicate it sooner or later, but this is a one in a lifetime edition. That's why it's called rare, there were only 23 liters were put in the barrel at the beginning. We were only able to save 20,000 because the angel shares for all those years we lost like 3,000 liters. So we got more than 20,000 bottles, but we already in 2 years we already sold more than half.
Wow.
And people were having a very good response, especially in the United States, that people are really liking it and buying it a lot.
So this is it. There most likely isn't going to be any more. So if you want it, get it before it's gone, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. We're working on new things also, but for this one, it's one in a lifetime project.
Wow, that's really cool. I enjoy it. It's one of the most complex reposados that I've ever tasted, and it's my favorite reposado. I love it, and I don't drink a lot of it just because I want it to last, because I don't want it gone.
Yes,
I don't want to have to track it down again, but I do have a place by me that has some, so I'll have to make sure to grab another bottle to keep on hand, so when it's gone, I still have something to sip on. It's so good.
Yes, it's really good.
So I understand too that you opened a hotel now next to the distillery as well.
Yeah, next to the distillery, most of the distilleries always have like a little hacienda on the side. So we had a little piece of land there that we had it was previously used as a horse pool that then evolved into just a pond with fishes. We had a little garden in which we used to play soccer, and a little house where we had like tastings. So when Wayne came on board, we decided to take that all down, and we built a 25-room boutique hotel, with a nice pool and an excellent restaurant, and people are enjoying it. Hopefully, we can have you there soon. We'd be a pleasure to have you there, so you can try it, and we can host you, because the whole experience of Tequileño is bringing people here and getting to know the tequila, but also being able to the hotel is right next door, so you don't have to worry about driving nowhere. Just go into the distillery, then we have a tasting in the hotel, and you can enjoy the hotel, which is really nice. So that's the whole experience, the tequila experience.
Well, that's awesome. You can bet that when I make my trip to Tequila and to Guadalajara, that you're definitely on the calendar to go spend a night at the hotel and to come visit you and see the distillery. We're just going to wait a little bit until COVID is a little more under control.
I know.
It put a damper on my plans for travel this year so far. So I'm hoping that once we get the vaccine going and stuff, that I can set up a trip and come and spend some time and see you, and really get to see your distillery, so I can come back and tell everybody all about it.
Yeah, that will be a pleasure to have you here. Show you around the unique things that we have about a distillery, and that in the hotel.
That would be awesome. Now let's talk about your new Anejo that's coming out. Now, just like your Reposado actually has Anejo blended into it, right?
Year and a half Anejo.
Yeah, and so the Anejo, from what I understand, has extra Anejo blended into it. Is that correct?
That's right. It's a blend that we made. It was actually quite fun. We invited some people from Jackson Wine. I don't know if you know Randy Oldblum, that came over and helped us on doing some blending. And it was basically my father and some of the people that are part of the company, and Randy that helped us. And we were basically locked down like for about 5 hours in a room with more than 100 samples of tequila. So yeah. And we had to taste them all. That was the hardest part, but also make a blend. And we decided to make a blend of extra añejos of 6 years with añejos of 2 years. The good part is that the blending came out to be wonderful. I enjoyed it a lot. The bad thing is that we weren't used to having extra añejos for that long. And basically the place that we are aging right now, it's in downtown Guadalajara, and it's quite old. We're going to be moving from there. Our bottling plant, we're going to be moving it from there. But there we didn't have the best conditions temperature-wise for the aging of the tequila. So when we opened the barrel, we were expecting to find of our 200, we were expecting to find 150, 160. And from some of the 6-year-old tequila, we were finding 50 liters, 60 liters. So it was,
took their share, huh?
yeah, yeah, they were very aggressive on that, and we blended it with a 2 year, and a blend came out great because it's basically all of the bourbon barrels that were used previously by bourbon, but also by barrels that were used for white wine.
Oh, okay.
So the blend came up great. You can find a very nice aroma and flavor of orange in there,
Yeah.
along with the wood and the honey in it. And that was the interesting part, the orangey flavor that we got from it, and how we had to mix everything to get because it was really strong, but to blend it into the agave flavors and everything. So it took us about 5 hours to get for that blend, but I think we did quite a good work, and believe me, we had a hell of a time in there.
I can imagine. I don't know if I would be walking out of that room.
Yeah, so it was
wheel me out.
it was really fun. We didn't felt as it was 5 hours because we were having so much fun. So it was great.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
I was able to, when a while back, able to snag some of these, which
Yes.
is fantastic as well. What's the difference between the 50th anniversary Anejo that you guys did compared to the new one that you just recently came out with?
That's 1.5 years añejo.
Okay.
It's only 1.5 years, 18 months. That's the amount of time that has aging. So that was made in 2009 for our 50th anniversary. And unfortunately that's we only have like probably 10 or 15 cases left that we kept for ourselves, but that's it. And we start with this añejo, and we'll keep on going with. I don't know if every year we're gonna do a different añejo, different expression of añejo, so we can find different flavors. We're working on that still on this year's añejo, and we're gonna come out also with an extra añejo, el tequileño.
Oh, nice. When do you expect the extra añejo to come out?
By the end of this year.
Oh, end of this year.
Yeah.
Any way I can get a sample to do a review on and let everybody know about?
Once we bottle it, we'll send you some so you can do a review on that.
Awesome. I would love that.
Yes.
And then also, are you planning on doing like a barrel select program for the añejos as well, where we can do private barrels?
We're growing to that because, as you can see, we were basically a Blanco and Reposado tequila company, and we only had our 50th anniversary. That was a very small quantity that we had, but now we're growing and we're getting more barrels and doing more, sending more tequila to to aging for añejo. So yeah, we're going to that, and we're soon we'll be making our selling by the barrel for people to have their own barrel and then getting it bottled.
That is awesome. Well, when you're ready to do that, message me and let me know, because I have a group that's called the Tequila Barrel Collective, where we buy barrels, and our members are all throughout the U.S. so we can get your product out everywhere and get people talking about it. And we buy lots of good, very special barrels. So we would be totally interested in picking up one of your barrels. So when you're ready, let me know, and then we can arrange to have everything brought in here. And then we have a retailer that will send it out to everybody, and we'd love to tell the world about it.
Sure, I will. I will let you know as soon as that happens.
Awesome. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers our interview session here. Let's open it up for questions and answers from our members here. Remember too, if you click the $ below the chat, you can do a super chat where your question will be given priority, and it'll stand out. It'll stay on the YouTube chat box for longer, and then it also helps support the channel and all the things that I do, and it's greatly appreciated. So don't forget, if you want to use super chat and want to support the channel, you can. So our first question is from Ruth. She wants to know, what's the name of your hotel?
It's Casa Salles. It's the name of it was in honor of the Salles family that was named that way.
So there you go, Ruth. That's you got that. Our next question is, I just noticed my Blanco in the current bottle shape says platinum versus platino on the label. Any difference?
No, it used to be called Latino, but due to copyright problem that we have here in Mexico, not in the US, we decided to uniform the name both in the United States and Mexico, and we just name it Platino. So Platino will, if you still have some that say Platino, they were the last that came out with that name. There will be no more Platino, only Platino.
But it's pretty much the same stuff, right?
But it's basically the same. No, it's not basically. It is the same stuff, different label.
Okay. Now people ask too about what's the difference between the square bottles and the round bottles, and you guys just updated your bottle. That's all, right?
Yes, I have a funny anecdote. In Mexico City, we did the change from the square bottles to the new bottles, and basically we collect some of the square bottles and fill the new ones with the liquid of the square bottles. And there were several emails and people more than in Mexico City that called us say the new presentation tastes even better than the other one. I said, the same liquid. No. I'm sure it tastes different. Well, I'm gonna agree. I'm not gonna disagree with you, but I know it's the same liquid. But the bottle did make a difference in the sight and the perception of the people.
That is so funny. And what is it? Felipe Camarena mentioned that too. Hey, thanks Tequila Amigo for the super chat. Really appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you. Thank you. And then we got somebody who says great tequila, which I totally agree. It is great tequila.
Thank you.
I know too that there's been problems, with now that the company that bought your that invested in your brand is a Canadian company, and you guys have been exporting to Canada as well. And it's colder up there, that people have been seeing the floaties in their bottles because of the lipids, the fatty acids in there.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an example that we're trying to tell and teach our people. Have you ever made chicken broth?
Yes.
You make chicken broth, it probably tastes great, but then you don't finish it and you put it in the of why? Because you took away that natural oils of the chicken broth. The same with tequila. We don't filter tequila to do activate, and that way, with those natural oils that give flavor. I like to teach people to grab their bottles or their tequila and use any you'll feel your hands that are going to be extremely soft, and then you smell you'll see in tastings that I make, people get very surprised how soft their hands get. The oil we don't take out. Probably taking them out because there's lots of people that don't like to feel later on.
Okay, so we lost you a little bit.
But if you have the lipids and temperature, where did you lost me?
You went out for a little while when you were talking about the can you hear me? You there, Tony?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so we lost you a little bit when you were talking about the soup. We lost you. Your internet connection went out. So I just want to explain to everybody that what he was saying was that when you chill the soup, all the fat kind of comes to the top of it, and it comes together. And then when you warm it up, you kind of have to mix it back in again to get all the nice fat and stuff from the bones and from the meat that you used to make the broth back into the broth. And so that's what he was talking about. And then the fatty acids, when you put it in your hand, you rub your hand together, you can feel it softens your skin because of the fatty acids that are in there. And that's a sign that, that there's good stuff in the tequila. And that also,
if you have the lipids, put your tequila back in room temperature and they will disappear.
Yeah, they kind of dissolve. You can shake it back up and it'll dissolve back into the tequila.
Yes.
All right, so we have a comment from somebody who says your tequila is so rich and full of flavor, being that you cook in high pressure autoclaves and not brick oven debunks the myth that autoclaves are inferior. Yeah, I agree, because people do have a feel or impression that using an autoclave versus an orno is bad, but that's not the case.
It's just different. It's different. We use what best goes with our profile. That's why, for example, we only use agave from the highlands. It's not that the agave from the Valley of Tequila is good or bad, but just the agave from the highlands gives a different flavor to our tequila. Really fits into our profile. So using the autoclaves, I don't think they make a difference. It does taste different, but the autoclaves it's the perfect way of cooking the agave that will fit perfectly with our tequila.
How long do you cook the agave for? I know that it's under high pressure, but how long do you normally cook it?
We cook it for 8 hours, then we close down the steam valve and let it rest without opening the oven for another 6 hours, and then we open it.
And then you let it cool down overnight, or in
24 hours.
You can handle it. 24 hours.
Yes.
Okay, and then you use a roller mill for extraction.
Yes, and that's a very important part. In the roller mills, the water that we use in the roller mills comes from the volcano of Tequila. So that's also very important, because that water from the volcano of Tequila, it's full of different properties and different minerals. Kevin, one of our guys that works is in charge of sales in the United States, says that it's like tasting a bagel from Texas and a bagel from New York. They taste totally different, and that's because of the water makes it different.
I miss my New York bagels. I really do, and pizza, because the water really does make a difference. All right.
Yes.
So the next question is: you said the Repo Rare is going away. Is the Gran Reserva Repo limited too?
No. The Gran Reserva will keep on going. We're aging as we speak. We're aging more Gran Reserva.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's going to be ready.
Keeping that in. It's a good one.
Yes.
I love it. I still have a bunch of the bottles of the square. When I found the old bottles originally, the pricing on it was just right. So if you need more of the square Anejo bottles, let me know, because I have like 3 cases of it here stashed away. So I'll be happy to help you with any of them, Tony, if you need any more. I know you said you have like 15 cases or whatever, but and then the Reposado Rare, it's a beautiful sipper. I reviewed that one. I love it. It's really nice flavor for Reposado, not overly oaked at all, and it's just it's beautiful. All right, so we have another question for you. When was the Anejo released, and is it a recent addition? Well, it is a recent addition. It just came out recently.
Yeah, it was probably the end of last year, beginning of this one.
Yeah, so I remember when I did the review of the Reposado, or was it the Rare? I messaged you and sent you, and you came back and said that you were just bottling the Anejo.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to. I know a lot of people. I'm looking forward to doing the review. I'm sipping it right now, and I know it's going to be a good review. So.
Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, it's recent, and we just got into the market. So if it's not there, soon it will be.
I know it's here in California. I picked up a bottle, so it's here. So I'm sure people like Old Town Tequila probably has it. Thank you for Gran Reserva is my favorite El Tequileño expression. So there you go.
That's
Robert
great.
loves the Gran Reserva. It's a fantastic.
And we'll keep on elaborating that tequila too. Yeah, we're working on right now on our new bottling plant. We're gonna do much better, but the distillery, it's the same as it has been always. We've increased a little bit, but the most important thing, and the thing that I like people say, is that if they drink Tequileño and stop drinking, now that they're coming back to the Tequileño, say it tastes the same as it did before. So that's the main thing. We try to keep the flavor the same as it did before.
That's good. Consistency is good, and it's hard to do when you're dealing with, an agave crop and stuff. Now, do you guys own your own farm up in the Highlands, or do you have a farm you contract with for your agave?
Right now, we're buying agave, but we're working starting next year, we're going to start using our own agave. We're aiming for at least 50% of the agave that we use to be ours. So we already have a several crops. And what we find out before is that owning the land isn't the best thing. So what we're going to be doing is just renting the land, but doing our own agave, taking care of our own agave, which is very important.
Are you looking for a certain maturity for the agave for your tequilas?
What we aim is at least 6 years. Unfortunately, when I started back in 2008 to be in charge of the distillery, I used to have tequila agave that was 8, 9 years old. Now to find those, it's really, really hard. So we the youngest we go is 6 years. We try to not go from younger than that. That's our aim. But we're looking to have it probably 7 or 8 year old as it was before. The agave nowadays grows faster, yes, but nothing tops a 8-year agave.
So are you seeing with the price increases and stuff, is it making it even more and more difficult for you to produce a tequila at the cost in which you're trying to maintain? Or
yes, yeah. Every day. Fortunately, the prices have been going a little bit low. I don't want to say that they've gone down. They've been going as little by little. They've been going down, not as much as we want to, but hopefully this year they'll start to drop because there's lots of agave. But that also causes that the agave growers know that the agave is coming down, so they're trying to sell it as soon as possible so they don't lose any money. Although anyway, the price that if it goes down to 10 pesos, like they'll still be earning money.
Yeah.
There's a thing that I always talk with other tequila and agave growers, and they should not regulate, but they should do futures, like they do in other things, in which they state a low price, in which even though it's the lowest, the agave growers don't lose money, and also a high price in which they still make more money, but the tequila makers don't lose money. And if we start working like that, it would be much better and easier for both parties. Because right now, the agave growers are cutting our throats and choking us with the price agave. And then, I don't want to say, but what if it goes down to what it was in 2016, 2015, that it was 50 cents for a kilo of tequila? That's an unfair price. But that's been the war between the tequila makers and agave growers since I know. So I don't want it to go that low, but somebody has to agree on setting a price,
Yeah, well, I know that there's we talking to some other producers as well, like Carlos Camarena, who said that it's a cycle, and like every 16 years it goes from being hard to find, high priced agave to a glut where agave is dying in the fields and farmers can't get rid of their agave. And so I know, he said he still sees that happening now. And, I've talked to some people that I know too, that said that they actually were contracting for their agave, where they told the farmer, you plant, we'll pay you. And when it's ready, we'll pay you this set price, no matter what the market is, whether that's
the best thing.
Yeah. So do you see that becoming like a norm in the tequila industry, where they're going to be doing that to make sure that the farmers are taken care of, as well as they're not being overcharged for their agave?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do, because that will be a win-win situation. Because right now, yeah, it's a cycle, but this has been like a roller coaster. It keeps going up, and everybody's hoping that soon they start falling, and it doesn't happen. So yeah, we're hoping, and I think that the best solution here will be that both parties negotiate and establish prices in which they both can be earning money and nobody's losing.
That would be great. And take care of your humidors too, right? Because they need to make money too.
Yes.
Everybody needs to be treated well.
That's right.
Robert wants to know if you're planning on doing a high proof Blanco. I think 110 Blanco.
We're planning on doing it. Yeah, it's I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's a short term plan, but yeah, all of our Blanco comes out at 100 proof from the distillery. So we'll probably do a 100 proof Blanco. I don't know if it's going to be soon, but it's a plan that we have, because I know there's even though it's not a very large market, but there's a market of people asking for a high proof Blanco.
Well, I can tell you, Tony, if you come out with a high proof Blanco, I can make sure people know about it, and we'll get lots of it sold. There'll be a
That'd
big
be great.
market for it.
That'd be great. If not, I invite you to, or anyone who's interested to come into our distillery. Every morning when I get to the distillery, the first thing I go into the distillation area and try the tequila to see how it's coming out. So it's 100 proof, and it's a good breakfast. It's a good way to.
You'll have to peel me off the worm, though. Okay, so that's the way I'm like. You'll have to pull me off of it.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the day. I call it the breakfast of champs. So,
well, it's a plant, right? So it's healthy. So
yes,
there you go. Gets the blood thinned and ready to go in the morning.
Exactly.
So, Bernie wants to know if you are planning on having extra. He answered that yes, later this year, and he said he'll get me a bottle of it when it's come out, so I can tell you guys when it's ready to come out, and I'll do a review of it so you guys will know all about it, and we'll get the word out so everybody can be ready when it comes, and we'll make sure you know where to buy it as well. We'll make sure everything's good. Do you have any plans to add a Tahona or cook your agave in Hornos, or some sort of special edition like mixing agaves from the highlands versus the Valle or lowlands?
Regarding the Tahona or the Hornos, I don't think so. But we're looking for different for new ways of doing. Probably, one thing would be mixing the agave from the highlands and the valley, and also we're looking also at we'll probably be working on that this year also, doing some French oak wood instead of American oak wood. That's the one we're using. And I don't know if later on we'll go also for Porto or any other types of wood that can give a different flavor for our reposados and añejos.
Have you ever thought about doing a batch together with somebody else, like with Guillermo or somebody there close by that you can do?
Not to be honest, but I think it would be a good idea. I think it's I don't know if you tasted every year in the chamber. There's a anniversary tequila that is made with several tequilas, sometimes even 30 or 40 tequilas, and I'm not gonna say it's my favorite because the mixture sometimes I think it's easier to blend different tequilas with when it's the same brand, but when it's different brand, every brand has its own profile, and sometimes they don't get along together. Although Guillermo from Fortaleza and I are really, really good friends. Actually, he's my uncle, so we see each other quite a lot, and that has never come up, to be honest. But it could be a good idea. I don't know.
I think that would be neat to have a co-op batch that you guys do together. I think people would go crazy over it. It would be really interesting.
Yeah, we could try it. I'm going to talk to him once I see him.
All right. So this is, what do you feel sets your upcoming Crystalino expression apart from the rest, given the challenges of staying additive free as well as producing something that you were happy with? Did you blend too? Thanks.
Oh, a Crystalino. A Crystalino, it's a 4 months reposado Crystalino. So what it gives it's you could still feel the agave in it, and then you don't feel it as, I'm gonna say it, sometimes the Crystalinos are really, really sweet. This one is not that sweet. It's also a lower proof. It's 70 proof. So it's easier to take. People like it because of that, because they can drink it by itself or and it blends with other drinks really, really good. So that's the main thing. It's easier to drink, and you still can taste the tequila flavor, the agave flavor in it, and aromas. You can still have them in this Crystalino. You don't feel it as it's something.
That's a reposado that you filtered?
Yes.
So out of curiosity, how many tries did it take you running it through the carbon filter before you got it to where you wanted it?
We did 20 something that we were, that we did. And we came out, we went to one our client from here from Mexico that helped us doing it. First I went it was, I don't know if 10th or 11th try that we liked. Then he liked it, but said, I think you need to do something different. Try and see what you can do. he told me the flavors that he wanted me to add, but I said I'm going to try with some of different, more aging and different barrels that we have, and we did it for the 4 months, and it came out right.
Awesome. So you had a bunch of Crystalinos that you could try and sample.
Yeah, I still have some samples here in my house, and that was also an interesting thing. My wife does like tequila, but she's not a really heavy drinker.
Mm.
But when I came with the Crystalino, she said, "Oh, I like that one," and she almost finished the final sample bottle. She finished the whole sample bottle by herself because she said it's really nice. I can drink it, and she liked it a lot. So she was also one of the judges.
I have to try it with my wife. My wife is a wine drinker. She doesn't drink tequila, but she doesn't like the 40% alcohol burn that she gets from it.
Yes.
She likes the ones that are, have additives in them and are super sweet.
Yes.
So I'll have to try that and see, because I know it's got more of a muted flavor profile.
Yes,
because of the filtering and stuff. So maybe she'll like that better. All right. Caesar, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, brother. He says, sorry for their ignorance, but why the Reposado Rare is called the Reposado if it's, and he explained that before, where it's aged in a barrel that's too big to age añejos in, because it's in a big, what's called a pipon barrel, and they're too big to age in, to call reposados. The CRT won't let you. It has to be in was it a 300-liter barrel? Or?
No, it has to be in a barrel no larger than 600 liters.
600 liters, which is a standard French oak barrel, right?
No, the standard is 200.
Okay.
The ones I've seen is 200, 180, and 225. There's very few 600 liters. I've seen some in some wineries, but they're not very common anymore. They're very hard to build.
I don't think I've seen. That's why I thought it was like 2 or 3, because the standard bourbon barrels, 53 gallons, like 200
liters.
200 liters, right? And the French is like 240.
225. 225.
225. Okay, 225.
Yes.
And Robert says, "Hey, French oak, yes, please." So he's ready for your French oak expression to come out.
Yeah, we're working on that, and hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be before the first half of the year or the second, that we're going to come up with a reposado with French oak.
We're looking forward to that. We really are. And then JD said it's definitely a vegan breakfast, drinking from the still in the morning.
That's great.
Non-GMO vegan. What can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh man, sign me up for the French oak version from Tired of Fools." He's interested in that. Kevin Schmidt says that he's scheduled to visit in October. Tequileño Repo Gran Reserva is by far their favorite reposado. Absolutely amazing tequila. So you got some big fans here, Tony.
That's great, and hope to see them in October.
And then, are you using the same yeasts since El Tequileño's inception, or do you experiment with different yeasts, or do you use wild yeast in the air? We make our own yeast from agave. We've done it the same way ever since my grandfather. But also we ferment in open mouth tanks. And on the hotel on the other side, we have lots of mango trees. And you can see in the morning you don't see anything, but in the afternoon, once we open the ovens, you can see all the fruit flies that come from the mango trees over to the distillery. Some of them land in our yeast, some of them land in our fermentation tanks, and those bring also help us to enrich the product and gives also fruity flavor to our products. Well, that's interesting. I've never thought about that. Yeah, I've seen when people open the ovens and letting the agave cool down, flies everywhere, but I never thought about them being couriers for yeast and stuff from the trees. And
those fruit flies, those little fruit flies, they're not like normal flies, fruit flies.
Yeah,
those come in and they helped us to enrich the yeast, and also for the 100%, we only use the agave honey. The honey that comes out of the ovens. Mm-hmm. That's what we use as to feed our yeast. When we do the mixto, we use the piloncillo.
Oh, awesome! So you guys actually grow it in a lab?
We've grown it. We started in a lab, but then every year we save some, and when we normally stop at December. We save some, and then we just put it in the freezer, just so it won't die per se, and just take it back after a month being cold, and it can start to regrow.
Awesome. So just being somebody who was a home brewer myself, I used to brew beer in the garage, and fermentation is something that I'm really up to speed and stuff on. I'm wondering, since you don't use wild yeast and you cultivate your yeast, do you actually take the honey from the autoclaves and create a starter with it and actually start it a couple of days before your fermentation?
Yeah, like 5 days.
To take off?
Like 5 days, more or less.
5 days. You do it in a big bucket, or how big of a starter?
Started in small buckets, and then where we do our yeast, we have another small tank, which is like, I think it's like 100 liters. That's where we get it, and then we put all the honey in, and then we let the yeast get into the honey or the piloncillo, and that's where they feed in and they start growing.
Oh, awesome!
And we regenerate the yeast every week.
So every week you're not using the same tired yeast. You're getting new fresh yeast every week. That's awesome.
Yes. So that's what we do.
Those little buggers work hard, so you got to.
Yes. Yes, they're the most important part of the whole distillation process.
So do you have an idea of like what the alcohol percentage is of your fermentation when you're finished, and what the bricks was beforehand?
Well,
have a starting target bricks?
They start about between 11 and 10 bricks, depending on what type of tequila we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And with mixtos, sometimes they end at 0 bricks, and with 100%, they end at like 1.5, 2, depending. If it's a perfect day, like weather-wise, it can go all the way up almost to 0 with 100%, even though it's a bit harder. But we've measured, and it's almost like 8 or 10% alcohol that it finishes with.
Wow. I'd love to just be able to sip some of that mosto before you distill it.
And it smells really nice.
I always loved one of my favorite things to do when I visit distilleries is, number one, after the agave is cooled, peel off a slice of the cooked agave and just munch on that, because it's absolutely delicious. But then also try a little taste of the mosto, and then also try a little bit of the tequila out of the still, because those were some of my favorite things that I did. You get the pure essence of pure agave wonderfulness coming out of the still.
It's several things that, even though the technology has evolved, there's several ways. Like whenever we cooked an autoclave, we know when we open it, we know if it's well cooked or not. Depending, if you open the door and the agave falls out of the autoclave, it means it has been well cooked. If you open it and nothing comes out, it means you needed a bit more.
Have you ever had that happen where you had to cook it more?
It's hard to recook it. I had it that it didn't open, so we have to close the door and give it more time without opening, so the heat will remain there a little bit more, and it does help. But if they stopped it before time, it's really hard to close it and put it some more steam. It's not the best thing you could do.
Okay, so we have another question for you. Which is your go-to or personal favorite expression from your lineup, and why? Salud.
Yeah, I always go with the Blancos. I love the Blancos. They're my favorite. Why? Because I've been always used to drink right out of the still. So I like to drink those by themselves or in a cocktail. Those are the ones that I like, that I drink the most. And nowadays, one of my personal favorites is the Reposado Rare. I love that one, although that I cannot have it every day. I only have that in special occasions, and those are the ones that I like the best, because the Blanco it's the easiest to drink. Platinum or Blanco mixto is the one that you get, and you get the flavor of tequila.
Yeah, it's the truest. I call it the lifeblood of a tequila line, because you can't hide any mistakes and stuff when you're dealing with the Blanco. And so, a little question for you too. How old were you when you had your first taste of tequila, and when you first tasted it, did you like it?
I don't know, probably like 14, 15 years old. And that time it really burned, but I liked it. I didn't dislike it.
I always like to ask that, because it's interesting to find out when when you're growing up in a family that's, tequila is their life, coming from the Cuervo family, they were the pioneers of tequila. It's always interesting to hear, how the generations and stuff were exposed to it and whether it was something that they were interested in right off the bat and so on.
Yeah, I've been, and I've known that I liked working there all my life. At the beginning, I wasn't expecting because my grandfather, didn't have space for me. But then when he passed away and I came back, I was studying in Spain when I came back. And my father said, "Are you interested? We need somebody to start doing international sales." So I said, "Sure, why not?" And that took me later on to production. And that's what I've stayed the most in production, the one that I like the most.
Well, looking at what your family is, your family heritage has gone, the other part of the family. Do you guys kind of look and say, what happened as far as what the Cuervo has done with the Cuervo product line and stuff, or how are your feelings on that?
No. We know that Cuervo, we respect Cuervo, and we know it's the biggest brand that there is, the one that produces the most. And every time they think we can help them or they can help us, it's well received. We have friends from the Cuervo family, and the actual that are still named Cuervo, or the actual owners of Cuervo. They're very, very nice people, and that we're friends with.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad there was no animosity between your grandfather's father-in-law firing him and stuff from the.
No, he didn't do it. He was really nervous of doing it because he didn't want to do it, but he was just following orders,
Yeah.
And that was what he had to do. But no, they had a really, really good relationship.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, Cuervo's been important in where tequila is today. So it's definitely, I think, a good thing, even though they started using the diffusers and stuff, and we're all, us aficionados, are not big fans of those.
But there's like my father used to say that there's like the sun comes out for everyone, and there's always somebody for your tequila. There'll be always people that will be looking for that. I like to say, like, because people say, how come there's some tequila that is cheap and some tequila that is really expensive? And I say, I like to give an example. Always referring to food, but quesadilla is just cheese and a tortilla, right? And if you grab a quesadilla, you grab a tortilla and cheese and put it in the microwave, 30 seconds, and you get a quesadilla. But if you put it on the grill and you do the quesadilla, the tortilla by hand, and then put the cheese and let it grate slowly, it's a two-product food that can taste extremely different from one way or another, depending on how you do it. Same thing with tequila. People might be looking at the time for a cheap tequila that gives you a different flavor and different after consequences, I like to call it, or a tequila that it's craft tequila that you're looking for flavor and you're looking for something else, and that's what we're aiming for, a tequila that it's natural in the way it's doing, and people like the flavor and look for a quality.
Yeah, I like to explain it to people in that you're paying for the experience. Because, it's like you can go to McDonald's, right, and buy a hamburger, and you'll get a hamburger from McDonald's. But if you're looking for something that gives you more of an experience when you're eating it, you'll look for a place that makes a sit-down restaurant that makes a better hamburger, that'll give you a better experience. So sometimes people are on the go and they just want something quick. So they grab McDonald's or other times.
And it's good. McDonald's is good.
Yeah, it's good. Or you go, sit down at a restaurant and have a nice, Kobe beef hamburger when you're looking for a better experience and you're willing to pay for that better experience.
Exactly.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for taking the time to sit and talk with us. We don't have any more questions for you. It was great. It was fantastic. I love your tequila. We have a bunch of fans here that love it as well. I really do look forward to coming down and seeing you and seeing your distillery and spending some time seeing your hotel and stuff and talking to you in person. So
thank you.
Appreciate a lot. I know I'll be in touch. So let me know when the extra Anejo comes out.
Comes out.
Yeah, and then let me know about the barrel stuff too, because we'll definitely take one and get the ball rolling on that and help you out. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the super chats. And more importantly, thanks for all the great comments. We appreciate you guys supporting the channel and being here for our different episodes. I will have a review of the Anejo coming up soon. So make sure you look for that. All of a sudden breaking out in a cough. But like I always say, and Tony can join me because I'm sure you have a glass poured there, right, Tony?
Yes, if not, I'll have it poured right now.
Okay, there you go. Like I always say, life is too short to drink bad tequila.
Salud.